You're listening to episode 54, Wes Craven's Deadly Friend. Is it one of his most misunderstood films? Let's find out on this episode of Video Vela Podcast. So, as we enter our second episode of 2025, I think this is the second episode.
Yeah, because we
So,
are
one was like right on the brink of New Year's.
Yeah, well, right in like the first week of 2025. Yes.
We decided to. I feel like this is kind of in line with Encino Man, but it's not a comedy.
Yeah, so it's funny.
It's weird. They have some crossover. I personally feel like
it's funny that you bring that up because that is this. It literally, we're looking at the back of the VHS right here, and it literally says a Breakfast Club version of Bride of Frankenstein. So it's definitely like the fact that you brought that up, that was definitely something that they were trying to do in the marketing department.
Yeah, I feel like the gimmick is like these out of this world things that these teens are having, or creating relationships with. Know what I mean? Like you have BB, you have oh my gosh, we literally just did the episode and I can't even think of it. I mean, Brendan Fraser, whatever he plays.
Encino Man.
Yeah, but what do they end up naming him?
Link,
yeah. You have Link, so it's like these not that a caveman's out of this world, but in today's century it is. Yeah, you have these like out of this world type things that
like scenarios that wouldn't really ever happen.
Yeah, beings.
Yeah.
That these kids are creating, relationships and friendships with. So that's the crossover for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, and and I didn't do that on purpose. So it's funny that this kind of just happened this way.
Well, originally we were going to do Twilight Zone.
Yeah, we're still going to do Twilight Zone, just not yet. That one, I want to do.
We pivoted.
We pivoted a little bit because we have some more. That's going to be a little bit heavier episode, so it requires a little bit more digging into. So this is actually a movie that I've been kind of wanting you to see for a while because I thought you would like it.
Yeah.
And we'll find out at the end, as we always do, to see if Becca ended up enjoying the film or whatever. But ever since I don't know. Ever since I finally got you into watching some horror, this was a movie that I was like, I think you would like it because it is very cute. It does have a very sweet story.
I will say I don't mind horror, but we just like two different genres of horror. Like I don't mind seeing people die and stuff. I'm a mix of like suspenseful and like mysterious and like paranormal. You're more like gory and things like that. So,
well, I like everything, but yes,
I'm very particular.
Yes,
I'll say that.
you will limit the kind of horror that you will watch based off of the degree of how gory it is.
Yeah, and the mood I'm in.
Well, yeah. Well, I was like, one time we watched the new Rambo movie, and it was like, you're lucky you got me to watch that. And I was like,
I don't remember saying that.
Yeah, because after we watched it, it wasn't that gory, but like he like breaks someone's collarbones, like pulls it out of their skin and stuff.
I don't even remember watching the movie.
But yeah, like when it comes to like movies like this, especially when we're talking about like a famous horror director like Wes Craven, who's known for his dark subject matter, his heavy, intense scenes. I mean, think about, Last House on the Left and Hills Have Eyes, which, are pretty rough movies.
Yeah.
Even though with Last House on the Left, there is humor involved in that movie.
Yeah, I've only seen bits and pieces of that.
Yeah, there's parts of it that are funny, and even though those two films actually got, I personally think, really great remakes. I like both of the remakes. I think they were really good. But someone who's known for kind of like being like, I use the word horrorcore and subject matter, for him to kind of take on something that's on the lighter side. I think it's definitely out of the ordinary, but was common for the time, because at this time, I believe Starman had already came out. So John Carpenter had already taken his stab at a romantic film that's typically not his dark subject matter, like, Escape from New York or The Thing or Assault on Precinct 13 and stuff like that. So that was definitely different for him to do. And in theory, this was kind of like his star man, which is crazy because like this film, the movie that we all see, all got and all watch wasn't actually the original cut of the film. The original cut of the film was completely a love story, but the original storyline comes from the book Friend, which sucks because I completely forgot that this was a book before we started to do the review, and I didn't have time to have the book come in time for me to read it before we did the review. So if you're interested, let me know in the comments. Maybe I'll do like a little short segment on the channel, a shorter video of like the comparison from the book and the movie. And maybe I can talk about some of the details if that's something you guys are interested in. Because, when we do the Stephen King's, I always love bringing in the book concept and reading the book before we do those reviews because I love those books, and then the movies are so great. But so the book was actually written by Diana Hinsdale, and it's funny because Wes Craven typically wanted to do this script for the movie, but at the time, that's when the Twilight Zone was getting a big reboot. So he was busy directing episodes for the Twilight Zone, and he didn't have the time to write down the script. So that's when the studio introduced the story, the movie to Bruce Joel Rubin, which he had written. He wrote Ghost and Jacob's Ladder, which I think you would like Jacob's Ladder because it's a psychological horror film. Mm-hmm. And I know like you liked The Mouth of Madness when we saw that, and you like that the psychological aspect and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that one's really cool. And so when he actually found out that it was about the book, he read the book and he was like, this book is awful. Mm-hmm. Which I think is like, it's crazy it's crazy for someone just openly just like talk shit about something when it's someone's like, oh, I don't want to write this movie. This book is awful.
Yeah, I think also like when it comes to like movies and films, that's a whole different dynamic of like criticism. And I feel like people in those, those communities are probably more like blunt with their criticism. I feel like if your friend wrote a book and you read it, you obviously wouldn't be like, this is dog shit.
No, yeah.
But like
never.
in the entertainment realm, I feel like people just like cut people up left and right.
Yeah, it is Hollywood. So yeah, probably definitely in writer to writer.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that they can probably be a little bit more blunt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kind of, it's like.
Not that it's okay, but I also like, I get it.
Yeah, I can see that. It does suck though, because that's pretty wild.
Oh yeah, that's hurtful.
But yeah, so he wrote the script and him and Wes got together. They ended up doing the movie. Everything was great. They had a great time doing it, and they submitted the final product to the test screenings. Didn't do well. It was at the time PG, and basically the test. Like I said, this is not the typical movie that Wes Craven was doing. So Wes Craven's fans are definitely off-put by the film that they were watching if they were familiar with his work in the test screenings, and then also. There was like no gore. None of the gore that we have in the movie was never in the original cut. It wasn't until Mark Kenton, the vice president of Warner Brothers, after the screenings didn't go well, he went to them and he was like, listen, I need you to write some extra scenes. I want more gore. And each scene, I want it to be more violent than the next. So I want the gore to ramp up as the movie progresses, which it's weird because some interviews you'll see that people say that Wes Craven was very upset with the final product of the film, and he didn't like what the studio's input and how they changed the film. But then also in other interviews, like Christy Swanson talks about in the Scream Factory Blu-ray that I have, how she said that they were excited to add the gore in. Yes, it wasn't the movie that they initially wanted to make, but when they got the go ahead to add the gore, they were happy, and they were having fun with adding each progressively gory or bloody or deadly kill scenes over and over and over as they progress. So it's kind of weird when you see like these two contradicting statements.
Yeah.
And it's so weird because like with the time where like we have so much vast media at our fingertips, it's almost like, okay, well then what's the true story?
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, Wes, one of the best directors in horror of all time. There is not one person that has worked with that has any like literally mean or harmful words to say at all. They said he was a fantastic director, a fantastic person. And it sucks because he's no longer with us. So he's like, we can't have those in-depth interviews with him or 40 years later, how do you feel about this film and stuff like that? It sucks because like we've lost that opportunity.
Yeah.
And he passed at a time where like these kind of like these really in-depth Blu-rays releases and companies that were going in and going back and interviewing these people for their distribution of the new, steelbooks or these new like 4K release of these type of films where they really want to put some extra money effort into making you want to buy it to get something that you haven't seen before. It sucks that he passed at a time where that was just getting started.
Yeah.
So we don't have those like yes, we have some cool documentaries with him and stuff because he created one of the best horror icons of all time.
Yeah.
With being Freddy Krueger. So it does suck that we don't have that. But like I said, Christy Swanson, she tells a completely different story and said like they actually enjoyed making these scenes to the point where the additional gore scenes that they added into the movie, they went so far, then it started getting X-rated. So they had it was, some people said it was like 13 to 18 multiple times that they sent it back and forth to the MPAA to get them to review the movie and to accept an R rating. And it's funny because every single time where they would tell them that this is too far, Wes would also give them information stating, okay, you say this is going too far, but here's an example of X, Y, and Z of stuff that's even worse than what's in our film, and that's a rated R. Yeah. You know what I mean? And basically they were just told was, because it's like people that get it, people don't really understand how that works because it's so weird and random how these people actually rate
yeah, I mean, it sounds
movies.
Like a panel.
It's a panel.
And they go through, and it's really just, I'm sure it can probably be super opinionated.
And it just doesn't make sense because it's nothing's consistent.
Yeah.
Something that's okay in one film cannot be okay in another film.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing. Not Stephen King, but Kevin Smith actually has with his last movie, I think it was the 4:30 movie. That was his biggest thing. He wanted it to be a PG-13 movie. And usually when he fights the MPAA, he wins. This was like one of the only times he actually lost. And they kept on coming back with R rating. And he was like, I don't understand. And he goes, you're telling me this movie right here is rated PG-13. He would give an example. But my movie that has a couple of dick jokes in it is an R-rated movie. Mm-hmm. And basically the response that he got was, well, he's like, okay, if this is a PG-13 movie, think about your, 12-year-old, 13-year-old daughter going to see that with you. And then y'all two are watching this movie and think about those scenes that you're referencing. How uncomfortable will that make you feel? And he's like, well, that's up to the parent to decide if they should see the movie, what's called. And so anyway, long story short, he got an R rating or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy because so they kept on sending it back and forth. And eventually, finally, after multiple cuts and multiple trims, they got the R-rated rating. And I like the gore scenes personally. I don't think this movie is so rough. And I don't think it's too edgy I don't think this movie is actually too violent with being realistic violence.
Yeah, no. And also, I mean, the violence that happens is so bizarre and over the top that it's just, it edges on the, topic of just words. Not my favorite today. It's almost the end of the week. No, but the gore scenes like tiptoe into the part of just being like gimmicky and funny.
Yeah, and that's
because like it's so insane that you're like, oh my gosh,
exactly.
Really?
And here's the thing: is that's why I've always said this since I uh, watched this as old like as an adult, and I've always said like this is a very good introduction horror movie for kids.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of real foul language. There's no nudity in the movie. And to be honest, if the worst thing that happens is someone's heads explodes, but it's in a completely ridiculous, over the top manner.
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with a kid watching that.
Yeah, because I feel like the biggest concern, and at least I know, like for you and I personally, like in our family unit, like our biggest concern for a kid that watches scary things is making sure they understand the difference between reality and a movie, or reality in this, or reality in that. And this is something where, like I said, the gore is so like over the top insane that you know it's not reality.
Exactly.
Like you know it's like way crazy out there. So yeah, I feel like those are good intro films because they're so crazy, insane, and so unrealistic that it makes them like less scary. And you also don't worry about the concern of a kid mixing it with reality.
Exactly. And that's another reason, like for another good one that I think is a great introduction to horror movie, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Great introduction to horror movie. Not really too scary. And yes, if you don't like clowns, obviously it's going to be scary for you. But for the average kid that doesn't mind clowns, definitely don't think that I think that's a great introduction. And we brought it up during the Cat's Eye episode, which I think Cat's Eye, based off the final story of the movie, I really think that is a great little short scene for kids with the
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was a very anti-clown kid. The true very first scary film I ever accidentally watched was It.
Well,
and I was before that terrified of clowns to begin with. And I mean like terrified.
Are you still terrified of clowns?
Not really. I mean, I'm an adult. I know they're not real.
Okay, because we do have to watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space. So.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. But as a kid, I mean like no.
She hasn't seen it before. That's why I'm telling her right now.
But I mean, even as a child, like no circuses, no birthday clowns, no like none of that, no clowns.
See, here's the thing. We're talking about clowns again. I always say this. I don't see how anyone can be scared of clowns. When you grew up in the 90s, we had the best clown of all time, Ronald McDonald.
That didn't scare me, but he wasn't a clown. I'm talking about like he was a clown, but like I'm talking about your cliche like circus clowns and stuff like that. And something about like, I don't know, something about it just creeped me out. An adult in that outfit. And like, what are you doing around kids besides being weird and creepy?
Have you seen Bozo?
What do you mean?
Bozo the Clown?
I've seen scary versions of it.
No. So Bozo the Clown, I know he was a big thing, but like in the 80s and I think even the late 70s, but in the 90s. So I watched Bozo a lot when I was growing up. That was the Bozo came on PBS.
No TV clown. No, and something was deep rooted. Like there was never a pivotal time where I'm like, oh, I remember this point in time, and that made me scared for the rest of forever. I just straight up didn't like him.
Oh, okay.
I just came out not liking him.
I will say the only time I got scared of clowns was my very first Halloween I can remember. The second Halloween after that, I was Frankenstein, and I was ecstatic to be Frankenstein. But my very first Halloween I can remember, I was really little. But my core memory I have is sitting on the toilet as my mom painted my face to be a clown.
I'm laughing because I already know this story.
And then I get up, and then I look in the mirror, and I am scared shitless what's in the mirror. Because in the mirror, that's not me. That's not me. Because I'm so little. I'm like, that's not Logan. That's a demon. You know what I mean? I was terrified.
Grayson was just hard eyes and over the moon when we painted him like Jack.
Yes.
He that did not scare him at all. I Jack.
He was, oh yeah. Oh, those were
that
great.
didn't bother him. But no, like even to the point where like, so my cousin Sierra and I are very, very close, and our birthdays are a couple weeks apart, aside from being 2 years apart. And she got a clown for her birthday. They had a clown come, and like all the kids loved it. I either I was like between sitting in Graham's lap and like glued to Sierra's side the whole time in tears over this clown. And the guy or whoever it was, did such a good job. They pulled a bunny out of that. Like they were doing everything to like make it seem okay and not scary. And I was not having it. You are not going to catch me slipping and get me to come near you because you got a bunny. I'm not stupid.
You're not going to get one over me. Yeah. I see your lies.
Yeah. I don't care what you pull out of that hat. I don't like you. Yeah, no. Yeah, so it's just deep-rooted. Anyways.
Well, what do you feel about BB? I think BB in the movie is cute as shit.
Yeah, robots are cute and stuff like that. No, it's just always been clowns. You could be anything else Halloween-related when I was a kid. Werewolves, all that kind of stuff. That did not bother me, but you were a clown and absolutely not.
I remember seeing this movie when I was little. At Video Villa. And when I saw this movie, I'm not too sure. I definitely know it wasn't this VHS particular that they had in the store. Because there's not a picture of BB on the back, but I definitely remember seeing this in the in Video Villa when I was little. Because like I said in the past, like and I've said on multiple channels and so forth, but like I love going down the horror aisle, but I just could never bring myself to picking a movie up and renting it because I was just terrified. And I will say, I was really lucky. My parents really didn't care what I watched. I remember being 5 or 6 years old watching rated R movies. Typically, they were action films, and my mom was just like, don't watch the titties. But everything else was pretty like fair point, you know what I mean? I remember being really little watching Predator and then not being able to sleep at night because I thought the Predator was in my bedroom. So, definitely was, I don't know. I was not I guess, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but certain things would just stress me out. And then the thought process of how scary something's going to be would make me not want to see it.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So like, this movie, I didn't see it till much later. And when the first time I saw it, because I had got to the point where like, oh, that's the movie I remember by seeing the robot and stuff like that. So all those things start clicking. You're like, okay, finally I get to watch this movie. And sometimes when you haven't seen something before, you look up things up, like people like, talk a bunch of shit about it or whatever. You want to see, was that movie any good? Or, you add a movie to your list based off of how many people say you should check it out, whatever. And this was one of those movies that had a lot of people talking crap about it. And after watching, I'm like, this movie's fun. This movie's, in my personal opinion, this movie's great. Is it one of Wes Craven's best films? No, but I don't think it's a bad film at all. And it really shocked me that how bad it did in theaters. But if the mass majority going to the movie are expecting their traditional Wes Craven style film, I can see how people can be upset. But I really think I do a really good job when I go see a movie, and I am just there to see a movie, and I can maybe separate myself from what I am expecting to see versus what I'm actually getting, and if I actually enjoy it or not. What's that face mean?
No, sometimes you get way caught up in your expectations when you go to see a movie.
Expectations can also mean like I could be extremely excited to see a movie, and if I don't like it, really does bum me out. So yes,
or sometimes you won't even give movies a shot because you're like, I just already know it's just not going to be good.
Well, there's some movies I won't give a shot because if I know I'm not into the subject matter, I'm probably not going to like the movie, and I don't want to waste my time to go see it. So I will say, you're somewhat right.
Okay.
Well, that's kind of like
you're fine.
People were going to I will use this as an example and I'll move on quickly because I can see the hate comments coming. But I like the new Crow movie. I didn't mind it because I disassociated it from the near perfect film that was Brandon Lee in it. You know what I mean?
Sometimes when you're talking about sequels or remakes and stuff like that, sometimes you do have to just understand that it is not meant to be it's not meant to literally mirror whatever came before it. And sometimes movies are unique in their own right, even if they are, renditions of previous films.
Yes.
I think some people understandably expect things to mirror one another and get, let down when they don't, rather than treating them individually.
Yes.
Not saying that there's a right or a wrong, but you open yourself up to be let down a lot if you have expectations that aren't necessarily like realistic.
Yes, and I feel like what you just kind of said, I feel like if people went in this movie with a little bit more open mind of the subject matter, I mean, think about the concept of the film. What did you think you were going to get? I mean, a guy puts a computer chip in a girl's body and she comes back to life. What did you expect to get? Did you really expect to get a terrifying horror film? No.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, be a little bit more realistic on your expectations of the film you're actually going to go see. And that's what I did with the new Crow movie. I'm like, I know this is not going to be as good as the original, and I don't want it to be as good as the original. I just want to have a fun, good time. And, I'm just going to go in there, and this is just a movie. It's just a movie. All the background and all that stuff that comes from the comics, I'm just going to leave at the door and just try to enjoy it as a film. And I did enjoy it. And the thing is for me I will watch it again. That's not, like, I'm not a one and done. I'll watch it again. Like if it came on TV or something like that, and I had a free couple hours, I'd watch it. If it's halfway through the film and I didn't have anything else to do, I'd watch it halfway through the film until the end of it. So, that's like the only reason I brought that up, because that is my concept and how I go into seeing a movie. So
sometimes.
I'm basically saying I give movies a little bit more leadway than maybe the average movie reviewer, and I'm not as critical on a movie, as other people might be, because I'm just trying to be there to have a good time. Whatever. If you understand what I'm saying, I thank you. But yeah, I mean, that's really all the things I want to talk about the movie. I mean, like I said, you already know I enjoyed the movie. I think it was great. The soundtrack is amazing by Charles Bernstein. He already did, he did the Nightmare on Elm Street classic theme, and he also did the Cujo movie, which has a great soundtrack as well. So, it definitely has this nice, I would say, dated style soundtrack, but a style of soundtrack I wish movies would recreate. I understand this is a dated 80s style musical score, but those are the scores I really enjoy. I really enjoy those. And I feel like some movies can actually be better based off the score that the movie's in. And I feel like some movies can actually be enhanced with having the right kind of music. And I feel like it might be considered retro or whatever you want to call it, but I feel like if we brought some of these kind of like, not classic, what's the word I'm looking for? These different styles of, orchestrating music for a movie, and we get out of that, our digital age. And, I don't know what I'm trying to say. All I'm saying is if we brought that style back, I really feel like, some movies might be a little bit more enjoyable, or it might have something that's a little bit more special to them than this copy and paste style music that we get in, almost every other action film and movies and stuff like that. We don't get this, like, we just don't get pretty music anymore, I feel like. So, I mean, you still Hans Zimmer is doing a great job and stuff like that. He's always going to make great stuff, but we don't, like I said, we just don't get that pretty sound. And last thing I want to say is, we didn't talk about the character that played BB, but BB is played by Charles Fletcher, or Fleischer. I can't remember how to pronounce it correctly, but he was the voice of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He's a famous voice actor, and he also is in the movie The Hand, which we just did with Movie Dumpster. So if you
Logan did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. But if you're interested in that, go over to their channel, check it out. He was in The Hand. He's the guy who replaces Michael Caine's character as the artist in the movie. But
yeah, and you can find them. Their handle is Movie Dumpster on Instagram or moviedumpsterpodcast.com to get access to that episode and their other episodes.
But yeah, that's all I had to say. Is there anything like final you want to say about the movie or your thoughts before we dive into the back of the box?
No, I'll read the back of the box. So on the back, they have from Wes Craven, the director who unleashed Freddy in A Nightmare on Elm Street and who brought popcorn-spilling shockers like Last House on the Left and Deadly Blessing to the screen. Now brings you his scariest fright fest yet, Deadly Friend. In a violent vendetta of grisly gore, Craven uses his famed trademarks in terror to lace Deadly Friend with flat-out, blood-curdling fright. He also combines fear with fun. Deadly Friend is a witty ghoul story. It deliberately teeters on the edge of spoof, says the New York Times. At the story's center is 15-year-old Paul Conway. A scientific whiz kid recently comes to a small town to study artificial intelligence at a local university. One of Paul's high-tech inventions is his pet creation, a growly-voiced robot named BB. And one of his new friends is a lovely girl next door, Samantha. When tragic events take both BB and Sam from him, the boy genius desperately sets out to restore the love he lost. And like a modern-day Dr. Frankenstein discovers too late that he has created a rampaging monster. For an experience packed with plenty of powerful jolts and a few playful jests, get together with a Deadly Friend. I swear, what is the point of making the back of these videos so long?
Well, it's weird because
they combine like reviews with them, and like they try to be playful and have like, you know, I guess puns and things like that, but sometimes they're just way too long.
Well, you're looking at like this movie's 1986, so you know home video has been around for 6 or so years at the time, and that was a lot of times where you're going and walking around in the video store, the cover and the back of the box is what sold you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know that. So that was more so a rhetorical question. I get why they were so long because you used to not have trailers and things like that. You used to like get what you get, and that was it. It would be hard to find a trailer unless you came up upon
Yeah, exactly. You couldn't just watch trailers like you can
to
now.
determine if you wanted to rent something.
Exactly.
And yes, I know that. But sometimes they were very wordy and very long. And in most people's attention spans, I don't think very many people read that entire thing.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I never read the back of a box or anything. I would pick my movies out based off of what's on the cover.
Yeah, I mean, same thing with books and stuff. You like maybe read the first page.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing with me. Like, especially like think about at this time, like, you know, in my early years when I was picking things off the shelf, it was, you know, oh, Arnold. I see Arnold on the cover. I want to rent it. You know what I mean? You know, like I see Stallone on the cover. I want to rent it. I mean, or you know, like Eddie Murphy's on the cover. I want to rent it. You know, that's how I picked my movies. Or, oh, cool, there's dinosaurs on the cover. Yeah. You know, they're little miniature dinosaurs. You know, I want a pet miniature dinosaur. I want to watch this movie. You know what I mean? So, you know, like I will say, unfortunately, the cover here is like, doesn't really do a great job at like selling the film. But, you know, and I really like I like where when I'm collecting VHS and stuff like that, I like seeing the old original sticker sell price from the video store that sold this for only $5 at the time.
You say that, but then you also get very upset when the sticker's on the front.
No, I get upset when you go to an aftermarket place that's current that puts all green
dots.
All green dots are $5. Like, no, put it. You don't need it. You're covering up something with bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need. If you want, like I said, put it on the bottom. Put it on the bottom. Put it on the bottom. If you want to put a price tag on something, put it on the bottom. If it wasn't originally on the tape when you got it, don't add more shit to it.
I shouldn't have got you started. Anyways, so the film kicks off with a car in a parking lot, and in that car or approaching that car is a carjacker or someone just trying to steal stuff out of it. And they get in the vehicle and they start, from your point of view, they start talking to something in the back seat saying how cute it is. And suddenly a robotic arm pops out between the seats and starts to choke the carjacker.
Yeah. BB.
Yeah.
Can you do it? Can you do the?
No.
You can't do it. I can't get that low. BB.
Yeah.
I can't do it. But it's kind of almost like, it reminds me of like the Lord of the Rings, the voice, my precious, but saying BB, it's kind of like that, but I can't, my voice is too deep or whatever. I can never do high pitched stuff, but man, he's so fucking cute.
Yeah.
It's so weird how this is like supposed to be like scary, but it's not really at all.
Like I have a cute reference in a later scene for him. But out of the store after the carjacker takes off comes Paul and his mom, and they are on the way to a new town to move there and relocate BB because they need to move since Paul is going to do studies at this university.
Yeah, he's got a scholarship or something like that.
Yeah, for artificial intelligence and to show the work that he's done on BB.
Yeah, he's studying the human brain and so forth, and he's gonna show off the BB because BB is his own creation, that it's his own artificial intelligence that he created, and he put it in his own man-built robot, which is crazy. Apparently, it cost like $20,000 to build the robot, which is ridiculous amount. I mean, that's a crazy amount of money to think to like. I mean, I don't know what all in the this and also that's in the 80s, so I'm sure all that kind of stuff was much more expensive back then than it is in current times. But yeah, they end up moving into their new house and so forth, which very beautiful house, very cool. I like these old style looking houses with the wood, like the wood columns and the wood staircases and stuff like that. But we get this funny little scene where like BB needs to recharge himself.
Yeah.
It's like his charging port comes out of his like crotch area.
Yeah.
And it's really like, okay, this is a dick joke. You know what I mean? It's gotta be because he like literally puts his crotch plug into a socket and his eyes all bug out and stuff like that. And then he's just like, and then he goes to sleep. So like, I mean, that's got to be. I mean, I can't be the only one who thinks that that's perverted.
I didn't look at it that way, but that's fine now.
Really?
I mean, I got their point, but I'm like, I just kept it as like, okay, it's just a silly robot.
Oh, okay. I was like,
I mean, you're a dude, so
okay, maybe that's maybe that's the different. But yeah, so now we move to Paul and his mom head to the university, and we get to meet Dr. Johnson, which is the professor that's going to be training Paul, and we get to see like his new lab set. He's going to be working with cadavers and dead people and studying the human brain. And after we see what he's going to be doing, it cuts back to his house, and we get to see his glimpse of his neighbor. BB's in the backyard mowing the grass, and he ends up mowing into the neighbor's yard. And this is where we get to meet Sam, Christy Swanson, which beautiful lady. That lady has.
She's a girl.
Well, okay. Well, now she's a lady. Beautiful girl. I mean, but now like she has aged like a fine wine. She's very. I really hope that one of the conventions close to us, I finally get to meet her and get a basketball signed by her, so I can add to the collection because that's what I mean. She was Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is my personal opinion, the best Buffy. I know you watch the Buffy show, right?
Yeah.
Who do you think is the best Buffy? Would you say the movie or the TV show?
I mean, they're two very different things.
Yeah, but which one did you prefer? Would you say
they're so different to me that I wouldn't think one's better than the other?
Okay, well, I like the movie. Buffy.
You're just going purely off attractiveness of the girls, though.
No, well, what's the? Is it Sarah Jessica Parker? What's her name?
No, I don't think so.
Who plays Buffy on the TV show? Is it Sarah Jessica? I don't know.
Because one's a TV show that has a whole entire ongoing storyline, and one's just a one and done movie.
Well, yeah, obviously, and then the storyline builds up, and there's more lore, and there's new characters introduced, and so forth. But I really like the Buffy movie. But yeah, anyway, back to the movie. So we introduced to her, and Paul is just smitten with her. He thinks she's like just so beautiful, and he ends up introducing BB to her. He's like, "Oh yeah, it's my robot." And when he takes a look at her and he sees she's got a bruise on her arm, and then obviously Sam notices him looking at her bruise, so she quickly covers it up. And she's like, "Hey, I'm your new neighbor," so forth. She's like, "Oh, that's cool. I should come over sometime." Like totally just invites herself over.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, yeah, sure. You can come over." And then her dad sees them having a conversation. So now we can kind of tell something's going on here because she wants to cut the conversation quick.
Yeah.
And just get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So Afterwards, and after she says she'll, come over sometime, and she makes her way back into her house, which is next door to Paul's. Paul and Tom, who's the newsboy that he met a little bit earlier when he first moved in, they are hanging out. And I do want to say, and so we don't get caught up in it, and this is the BB scene that I was referencing. So Paul and Tom end up like walking down the driveway, and BB like makes its way down like its little ramp. And then it starts calling for him and sticking out its hand. And Paul goes back and holds BB's hand and walks BB over to the sidewalk where Tom and Paul are. So it starts calling, it keeps saying BB, BB. And then he comes back and grabs its hand. So I just thought that was cute.
I didn't notice it, but that is pretty cute. Yeah. It was the only thing I remember, like the main thing that I remember this scene, he's like, hey, do you know Sam? Yeah, I know Sam. Great tits.
Yeah.
But her father's crazy. Yeah. He'll kill you.
Yeah. And so after Paul goes back and gets BB, who accidentally got left behind, Tom points out Miss Elvira Parker's house across the street, who is the neighborhood nut job.
Yeah, he shows her. He shows him Elvira Parker, and basically she's kind of like, she's got this chain link fence all wrapped around her house with a lock on the outside of the chain link fence. And apparently she's extremely paranoid or whatever. And they end up making a bunch of noise or something like that. And she comes out basically with a freaking shotgun about to blast someone.
Yeah.
And then Tom's like, it's just me, Tom, your paper boy.
Yeah.
I was just introducing you to the new neighbors or whatever. And she's like, get the hell off my lawn. I mean, it's just like ridiculous. It's like so crazy how she's acting. And it's funny. It's Anne Ramsey, which is Mama Fratelli from the Goonies, and this lady's well known for playing like just kind of like just
delusional characters.
Not delusional characters, just mean spirit. She's a mean-spirited woman. I mean, she's also in Throw Mama from the Train with Billy Crystal and Danny DeVito. She's just like I think she was, if I can remember, I believe she was even on an episode of Alf.
I don't remember that episode.
I can't. Is it her? I can't remember, but I know. If I can remember correctly, she is on an episode of Alf where I don't remember if it's the Elvis episode or not. Maybe it's not the Elvis episode, but I strongly remember her being on Alf. If she is on Alf, I will insert the scene here. But yeah, she freaks out with guns blasting and tells him, get the fuck off my lawn, basically.
And then what's ironic, and you'll find later, is Tom makes a comment to Paul, like, she's not going to shoot. And yeah, we'll find out later.
Yeah. So then after that, as they continue on their walk, we see basically a glimpse of the bully of the town.
Racers.
Yeah, the Carl and his goon squad show up on their little dirt bikes, fucking showing off. And, they want to start picking on them because they obviously see something that they've never seen before, which is BB, which is kind of an eyesore. It's not really common to see a robot just rolling around the street.
Yeah.
So they start picking on them, throw them into the trash and shit like that. And, he's like, what is this thing? Anyone got a can opener and some bullshit? And he starts smacking up on it. I was like, first off, dude, well, mind your business. This ain't your shit to be fucking touching. But he gets his own because fucking BB picks him up by the goddamn dick and lifts him straight off the fucking ground. And he ends up throwing him into the trash cans as they all take off and shit like that. I really like that scene. It's stupid, but I think it's really funny.
Yeah. It's funny the scenes you get really into versus that I'm like, yep. I cared that BB wanted to hold hands with Paul, and you care that BB grabbed someone by the crotch.
Well, here that's the perfect thing about us. I mean, you got two different thought processes going on at the same time, and we just come together
with yes.
It was so funny with it's never mind. Keep on going.
Yep. If it's going to potentially get cut, don't say it. So then Sam comes over uninvited, just shows up with some cookies. She mentioned she was going to make some herself, but she, didn't have time. And So she brought over a pack of, I think they're called Almost Home cookies, to give to Paul. And Paul and his mom invite Sam in. And this is something I pointed out to Logan. So they're in the doorway and she comes in or whatever. And she leads Paul into his room and just opens the door. And it's like, personally, I would never just like do that at someone's house. I will follow someone around, like especially the first time you're over there. I'll follow someone around their house, but I'm not just going to go open someone's door and walk right in the first time, at least.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, you bring that, like, you talk about the Paul's mom. And that's another thing I wanted to bring up. Like, I love the characters in this movie. I think they're all lovable characters. I love the mom. The mom's great. She does a fantastic job. Tom's a great best friend.
Yeah.
Paul, he's a strong lead. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, Christy Swanson, we don't get a lot of dialogue, but I mean, she's great.
Still a main character. Yeah.
She's so good. She's so good in this movie. And so, she ends up going in his bedroom and then literally, unfortunately, her dad shows up. Did my daughter come here? Whatever. She hears that. She's like, oh shit, So she ends up coming down the stairs and she has to leave. And basically Sam says, you definitely, you should come back over again. Paul is like tells her, you definitely come back over again. So we cut to later that night. Obviously the dynamic at home is not great, and we get this horrible nightmare scene of, we already know her dad's abusive based off the bruises. Yeah. And then we get this weird scene where he's just all sweaty, just coming up, like basically
watching her while she's sleeping. Yeah.
Being super pervy and stuff like that. And he like starts to want to hurt her and in bed. And so she ends up taking a glass vase and breaking it and then stabbing him in the chest in it. And
which then becomes like a tube and just starts water falling blood all over her, all over the room. And he's laughing, saying that, you can't hurt me, and
you can't hurt Daddy because Daddy don't want to be hurt.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God.
But it's like, it's almost as if like, it's almost like the glass is like a tube and it's just like profusely just pouring out of the tube glass, like the tube portion of the glass vase. And it's just so like over the top theatric.
Yeah, because then you cut like literally because the scene goes on for a minute.
Yeah.
And then it cuts and then she's just doused in blood, just completely soaked in blood. And it's kind of cool because the year before this, we got Nightmare on Elm Street, which has dream sequences. And there's not just one dream sequence in this movie. There's multiple dream sequences in this movie. So it's kind of fun to also see Wes Craven playing with that dream thing again.
Yeah.
So
she ends up waking up.
Yeah, she ends up waking up in a sweat and realizing it's not real.
And locking her door, barricading her door and stuff.
Then we cut over to, the next day or something, and Tom and Paul and Sam are all in the backyard.
And BB.
And BB. Can't leave out BB. They're all in the backyard playing basketball. And unfortunately, BB ends up launching the basketball across the street into Mrs. Parker's house. So they go over there and they want, to get the basketball and, but Paul basically explains that BB can unlock the lock, but he's not going to have him do it because that's not right or whatever. Tom's like, how's that even happen? He's like, well, BB's incredibly smart. Why would you not think he should be able to? He's a computer. Yeah. But anyway, she comes out, she's super fucking pissed, and she ends up keeping the basketball.
Yeah.
She's like, my property, my basketball. Just letting you know that this woman is the worst neighbor you can have.
And then in that moment, you see her through BB's eyes, and she, through BB's vision, she turns all red, and almost like BB focuses on the fact that she has done something wrong to Paul.
Yeah, and I really like that. Like, I like the BB vision. We got a little bit at the beginning of the movie, but then we get a little bit here more. It's not like something we see a lot throughout the movie, but the little times it comes up, I really like the whole like computer, like animated, pixelated screen that we get.
Yeah. And then after that, Sam ends up coming over to Paul's house with a bloody nose. And Sam's mom, or I keep messing people up, sorry. Sam ends up coming over to Paul's house with a bloody nose. And Paul's mom and Paul kind of help her clean up. And this is where now it's it's somewhat public, or at least like finally discussed sort of what's happening to Sam at home.
Yeah, and this is kind of when that moment where Paul's mom sits her down and talks to her. Like, listen, like, I know what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, you can't keep on letting him do this. You know what I mean? He could, we can do something. He could go to jail and he wouldn't do it again, do this again. And she's like, but he's my father. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I, sometimes, yes, I want to run him over with a truck, but he's my father. You know what I mean? And it's really sad because a lot of times in these abusive scenarios, that is really what's going through someone's head. It's when it is someone who's so important, who's a very important person in their life that's committing these acts against you. It's
you have a trauma bond to them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's, I mean, like, unfortunately, like this movie does, you have some heavy subject matter.
Yeah.
Not the kind of subject matter, like I said, like in Last House on the Left with like RAP and stuff like that. E and stuff like that. But like you get a dump like something definitely that's also a something that's just kind of like brings the weight down in the room because it unfortunately this happens a lot more than people think, and I do think that is something that is not often looked at when you think about this abuse. Is like, well, what's the other person going through? And well, why don't you just leave? No, it's not as easy as people think. You can't just fucking leave.
Especially when you're talking about a child.
Exactly. And then that's another thing.
Especially a child without another parent. Like if they only have one parent, then it's kind of like, well, where are they supposed to go from there?
Yeah, they might be taken out of the school where they live. They might lose all their friends and stuff like that. Have to start over. Then they have to be with people that they don't freaking know if they end up finding a foster home.
And then also it's a power dynamic where it's an adult doing something wrong to a child, and children are raised to see adults as like superiors essentially. So yeah, I could go on and on about it. But yeah, so she kind of rebuttals against Paul's mom and kind of shuts it down. And now we kind of fast forward, and now it's Halloween, and the Three Musketeers plus BB are out celebrating Halloween.
Yeah, and they're all dressed up and stuff like that. So they're basically pranking, doing like shaving cream and stuff like that. Which I think shaving cream, that's a harmless prank, right? Does that pull off paint? I can't remember.
I think so.
I know bologna does, apparently.
It's probably acidity in it.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big thing. You just throw, because it sticks to anything, you throw it on it and just like.
I know Post-it notes can like bleed on paint or something like that, but yeah.
But anywho, yeah, so they're sitting there like, you know what we should do? And it's Tom's idea. He's like, we should go get Miss Parker. And they're like, no, what are you talking about? No. He's like, well, you said it yourself. What's called BB can unlock the lock. All I need you to do is to let BB unlock the lock, and I'll go ring the doorbell. Yeah. She'll shit her pants. She'll shit bricks if she finds out that someone was able to get around her gate and ring her doorbell. It'll be great. Yeah. And Paul's like, no, I don't want to do that. And BB ends up going over there, unlocking the lock or whatever. They go, they're going to go ring the doorbell, but then they start getting chicken. And then Sam steps up. She goes, I'll fucking do it. And she just takes off to go ring the doorbell. She gets up to the doorbell, rings it off. Alarms go off, floodlights come on, and everyone's freaking out. They run away.
Into the yard, not straight out of the yard, not the straight shot out of the yard. Like, I feel like anyone
farther
would.
Into the yard.
Yeah, further into the yard, trapped inside the large gate, behind some bushes, also leaving BB right in plain sight.
Yeah, and because Paul at this point was upset with BB and ended up shutting him down because he didn't want him to unlock the lock in the first place, but he ends up doing it,
Yeah.
So he shuts it down, and, Miss Parker comes out with her freaking gun. Who the hell's on my lawn or whatever? Yeah. And unfortunately, BB turns back on and starts going, BB. And she's like, and she freaks the fuck out and starts she comes out fucking blasting and just blows BB away to millions of pieces. And I will say, the acting's pretty good in this movie. Yeah. When Paul's upset
and tries to run after, and Sam and Tom are holding him back, and then the evil Miss Parker sees that they're over in her bushes, and she chuckles and just shuts the door pretty much.
I'm telling you right now, I this scene is pretty sad. It doesn't feel campy. I felt the levity or whatever. I don't know if that's the right word, but I felt the heaviness of this scene, and unfortunately, I felt sad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it did its job. And, and these are like, this movie's full of those kind of scenes where like, man, if you think about it, like, man, that's upset. Like, BB was his child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's his hard work.
Hard work.
Yeah.
Hard fucking work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's I really, like I said, if you haven't seen this movie, I strongly suggest you watch it. It is a great movie. But yeah, as we press on.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, BB is no longer. And at this point, some time has passed, and we are now at the Thanksgiving dinner table. My brain's going fast in my mouth. On the Thanksgiving dinner table with Paul, Sam, and Paul's mom.
Yeah, it's basically, so that happened on Halloween. It's been a month or so, and we can tell obviously Paul has not tried to rebuild BB.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like something that he's came to terms with, and this is a sweet little scene because they've had Sam over, and it's obviously who's. God knows the last time she's had a Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unfortunately, with her fucking dad. So they're having her over, and you have this, like, like the mom, Paul's mom's like, hopefully Sam's dad stays dead to the world long enough that she could actually enjoy this dinner.
Yeah.
And God damn it. This is when the movie, if BB dying is sad, God, it just keeps on going downhill here.
Yeah. So you get a pan over at Sam's house, and her dad's on the couch drinking, and it's clear that he's drunk. And Sam gathers her items, and goes home for the evening, and she is searching for her dad because there's empty bottles. The TV's on, but he's nowhere to be found. Yeah,
and she gets upstairs, and all of a sudden he grabs her, and he just starts smacking the shit out of her.
Yeah.
It's so sad, and and like the thing is, like, think about her coming home. She just had a great Thanksgiving meal with people that she just met, but actually truly care about her more than the person who should care the most about her.
Yeah.
I mean, holy fucking shit. And he freaking smacks the shit out of her again. He hits her once, hits her the second time, and she ends up falling down the steps and like hitting her head. And she gets
having a seizure.
Yeah, and she ends up having this awful brain hemorrhage.
Yeah.
And
he's yelling at her to get up, stop pretending, this, that, and the other. And you pan over or whatever, we move forward, and the ambulance are there, and he makes a comment to the ambulance or whatever he said along the lines of, I told her to pick up her stuff or whatever.
I told her to pick up her shoes off the steps. If she would have picked them up, she would have never happened. This would never happen or whatever.
And Paul's mom overhears that and obviously knows what truly happened, most likely.
Well, that's another thing. This is kind of one of those things where it seemed like everyone knew each other around the street. And it's almost like not only do they
neighborhoods used to be like that. They used to be like tight-knit communities where everyone's children were around the same age and they all played together and you ran amongst each other's houses. Like that's why I always will have a love for Nanny and Pop's neighborhood, because that's what that was like growing up.
Yeah.
Same thing with the campsite and stuff.
I just had my grandmother's house, which was like 100 feet from my house. Down the hall. It was just us two against the world down that holler. You die, no one's gonna know.
Yeah.
until the mailman says something stinks.
or your mail's stacking up. But once Sam gets to the hospital, she is being seen by the doctor that Paul has been studying under.
Yeah, Dr. Johnson. Yeah, Dr. Johnson is looking into her, and they found like her brain is constantly hemorrhaging. You got it. It's bleeding a lot, and if they can't stop the bleeding, what's called that will be the end for her. And after them doing some work on her and so forth, they open her up and they start to play around and they test her brain. And they find out, unfortunately, she is brain dead. And so the only thing that's keeping her alive at this point in time is the life support that they've put her on. And what they're going to do is they're going to leave her on life support for 24 hours, and then they're going to pull the plug with, obviously her parents' permission or her father's permission, which Paul can't stand that.
Yeah.
So Paul contacts Tom, and he ends up recruiting him. He's like, listen here, I think I can save her. It's the same work that I've been doing. Earlier in the film, we saw him do it to a cadaver where he put a electrical volt into the brain and was able to stimulate movement. So now he's going to try to do the exact same process, but with that same electrical current, he's going to insert BB's chip to reanimate her body. So basically, it's going to fix the damage that's in her brain and bring her back to life. Not like a zombie, but literally her brain will tell her body to do what it's supposed to be doing. It'll start breathing on its own and so forth. So the body's not going to decay. It's not going to be a Frankenstein kind of scenario. You know what I mean? Everything is going to start to go back to normal, not be a zombie or whatever.
Yeah, and so you don't know about any of the details of this mission. You find out about them as they start to unfold. So the first step is Tom and Paul are at the kitchen table with Paul's mom, and Paul ends up drugging his mom's coffee with sedative. So then they all sit down to watch movies together, and he knows that he needs to be at the hospital by 10 o'clock. However, while Tom and Paul are sitting down watching movies with her, she mentions like 15 minutes, 8:45, that everything's going to happen soon, that they're going to unplug Sam at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, because apparently the coroner, it was something with the coroner's schedule. So they did an hour early because I guess that's when the coroner was going to get off.
Yeah, so they're nervous because they don't know what's going to happen because she hasn't fallen asleep yet. And then suddenly she stands up because she's going to get more coffee and then just passes out. So now it's game time. They're going to take the van, go to the hospital, pull up to the delivery ports at the back of the hospital.
Yeah, Paul got there earlier and he was put a like towel basket. For the laundry basket or whatever, because he had pre-planned for this. So what they're going to do, they pull up, their goal is Paul is going to go upstairs and get Sam. Tom's job is to flip the breaker because he knows the breaker is going to cause basically all the power to go out.
Yeah.
But they have the backup generators, which they're fine. Yeah. It's going to cause all the power to go out, which will cause distraction and have all the alarms and stuff go off inside the hospital, which will allow Paul to get in there and get Sam's body.
Yeah.
Everything's going to plan, but unfortunately, when he's gotten there, it's too late. She is gone.
Yeah, because her mom is nope. Nope.
Try it again.
Yeah. Her dad ultimately is like, just pull it already.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
He's just mean and just nasty.
Yeah, it sucks because it really kind of does. If you think about it too much, it really does make you sick.
Yeah, and I will say his character does a great job at portraying just like a mean, nasty, careless, heartless person.
Yeah, and so he gets there and she's gone. She's not around anymore. She is literally dead. And he's basically, I can't have this. So plan B, he throws her in it anyway and brings her downstairs, throws her in the back of the van, tells Tom to get the fuck out of Dodge. Let's get the hell out of Dodge. And, what's called.
And Tom wants out because they did not plan on stealing a straight up body.
He didn't know she was dead.
Yeah, they planned on stealing a partially alive Sam that they were going to save, and now they're stealing a dead body. They're stealing a corpse.
Yeah, and I love this scene. I love the intensity where he's just fighting with Tom in the car. He's like, I don't give a shit. I'm fucking doing this with or without you. Whatever. He's like, I gotta at least try. What are they gonna do? It's a dead body. She's already dead, Tom.
Yeah.
Like, what are we gonna do? We gotta at least try. So
and versus Tom's like, let me out of this van.
So he ends up taking them all the way to back to the university, and they go into his lab, and he's setting everything up just like previously that he was doing on the Godiver. And he ends up inserting the electrical current little chip thing reader into the brain, and he inserts BB's chip, and he hits on the on switch. He's like, all right, I cleared on the switch. She should just wake right back up and everything should go back to normal. And nothing happens. And it's kind of like that moment where like Tom was like, you can tell he's like kind of like hoping it would work.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't work. And he's like, well, of course it's not going to fucking work because that doesn't happen. This isn't real.
Yeah.
I really feel like this without Tom's character being that that normal thought process person, without that character, I feel like the movie wouldn't be nearly as good.
Yeah, it's a balancing act.
Even though he's a small character, he really does bring a lot to the movie.
Yeah. So at first, Paul swears he saw her feet move under the thing. And while he's down there, her one leg pops up and Tom just immediately passes out.
Yeah, which is one of many pass outs.
Yeah. So now their next job is they're just going to take Sam to the shed while Paul pretty much nurses her to figure out what is going on and how long this is going to take to work, if it's going to work.
Yeah, so Paul he gets her to the shed. And, then it's like the next day because they've been basically working all night long. And his job now that he knows she has turned on, he is working with her, trying to kind of restart her system, have her, it's a computer. It's a learning machine. So learning, how to sit up, how to walk and all this kind of stuff. So he's kind of like, it's that teaching a baby things, that little baby step process. And Sam still seems to have memories of her past. We get some glimpse of kind of like her thinking and seeing things that, maybe everything is still there. It's just the brain learning how to go back to normal.
But then there's also a crossover with behaviors like BB would, aka like her hands.
Yes.
Her claw hands.
The way she
hands.
Moves.
The blank stare just.
I really think is like, because I think there's a point into the movie, I'll just say it now because I don't know if it was something they were trying to hide, because the thing is like, it's clear if you watch the movie, it's not Sam, it's BB.
Yeah.
It's not Sam that's in there, it's BB.
Yeah.
Until we get to the end of the movie. But the thing is Paul thinks it's still Sam. Everybody thinks it's, Paul and Tom thinks it's Sam. But I think I don't know if the viewers were meant to believe that it was Sam or if we were thinking it's BB, because it seems clear as day it's BB.
I think we were supposed to know it's BB and they weren't supposed to know until the end.
Okay. Okay, I think you're probably right about that. Yeah, because the thing is, like, in my head, I was like, did they want us to think it was Sam this whole time?
No, I don't think so.
But based off the hands.
Yeah. And the blank stare and some of the other like behaviors. So, Sam is supposed to just stay in the shed. However, she ends up seeing her dad through the shed window and heading over to her house.
Yeah, she is going to pay her dad a little bit of a visit. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, okay? So I do think, though, I know what I just said, but I really do think that that BB also has Sam's memories.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I definitely feel like they're intertwined. Like it's a little bit of Sam and a little bit of BB.
Yeah, because here's the thing is Sam died after BB died.
Yeah.
But we see BB obviously taking over the body and getting revenge for Sam. And because, obviously BB liked Sam.
Yeah.
So we basically see Sam pay her dad a visit, and we get this great.
By that we mean kill him.
Yeah. We get this great scene where he's like, he's terrified. Obviously, she's supposed to be freaking dead. Yeah. She throws a shovel at him, it stabs in the wall, and she comes over and then she grabs him and lifts him off the ground.
By his throat, yeah.
By his throat. Now, earlier in the movie, we did see like BB completely sling an entire piano across the room when he went to recharge. So obviously BB had incredible strength.
Yeah.
So now Sam has that same incredible strength. Picks him off the ground and just snaps his neck. Mm-hmm. Paul goes back to the house, can't find Sam. He's looking everywhere around her because she's broken out of the shed.
Yeah, and he realizes that there's smoke coming from Sam's house, like an excessive amount of smoke. So he goes into Sam's house and he goes downstairs to find Sam in the basement and her dad's head in the furnace.
Yes.
And he ends up helping Sam, or he just ends up taking over, pulling her dad out of the furnace, shutting the furnace, and then burying the body in this little like wood space.
The coal stack, or whatever you want to call it.
Coal stack or wood stack in the basement to kind of hide it.
Yeah, and I will say it's pretty gruesome. You know, it's not completely disgusting, but it is pretty gruesome after he pulls the head out and you see how burnt it is and stuff like that. It is a pretty great scene. So now Paul ends up locking Sam in his room. Okay, so
because he has access to the attic.
Yeah, so she can't be in the shed anymore because she broke out of the shed. Now I'm going to try to lock you up in my room. Miss Parker is across the street. Miss Parker looks, as she does, as she's a nosy fucking neighbor, and sees Sam, who's supposed to be dead, in the
attic window.
Not no, it's in it was
in the attic window.
No, it's his bedroom. Because he goes from bedroom to the attic. Okay, you can't stay in my bedroom more. Now I'm going to lock you in that because there's actual lock latch on the attic.
Well, yeah, but she has seen Sam from the attic window after Sam's locked up in there and Paul's gone for the day.
Okay, if you want to, if it's the attic window, it's the attic
I believe
window.
So, yeah.
Anyway, she sees him across the street and she freaks out, calls the cops. And well, obviously,
it's the boy that cried wolf.
It's not the first time that she's fucking done this. And the cops are like, oh my God, Elvira Parker again?
Yeah, like, I'll get over there when I have time.
Yeah, like he's like, what she's not going to fucking do. So she hangs up the phone or whatever. She goes back to doing what she's doing. And Sam ends up paying Miss Parker a visit. So Sam breaks back out of the house again and goes across the street. You see Sam's hand, like BB's, do the little knob.
Yeah.
Crack the code, get inside. And this is one of my all-time favorite scenes. I love this scene so much. It's so fucking great. So Sam breaks in and Mrs. Parker's looking around, whatever, and she hears a basketball. And which obviously already had the basketball, but she hears it bouncing and she goes over, picks it up, and she's kind of confused. She goes, oh, well, whatever. And then she throws it.
Well, she starts to barricade herself.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
like even more than she already has.
Yeah. And then,
so she's gearing up to be attacked.
Yeah. Well, she's not prepping to be attacked.
I mean, she got her gun and everything ready because she saw her gate was opened. She looked out the window and saw the gate was open.
Oh, I don't remember that. Becca was right. We checked.
Quick intermission.
Quick intermission. I am sorry. Yes. She breaks in and she sees that the lock was broken and she grabs her gun. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. She starts to prepare to be attacked.
Yes. And then that's when she hears the basketball and so forth. And she ends up throwing it or whatever. And I can't remember if she says damn kids or whatever. And then Sam grabs the basketball and Mrs. Parker freaks the fuck out because Sam's supposed to be dead. Now Sam's in her house and she grabs the basketball, launches it across the screen and just explodes Mrs. Parker's head. And this scene is so great. So how they did this special effect, it's a wax head and it's filled with blood and pig's brains. So when they had a cannon up the necks. When they exploded it, that's why you just see shit go fucking everywhere. So they exploded at the same time that the ball collapsed with it. Which is crazy because I still don't understand how this works because they say it's a little person holding a fake body and that's why, and they're just jerking it around with the head because it's basically walking around with her head, like a chicken with its head cut off. And then she falls down. But when she falls down, the legs are normal, like normal length legs. This, I really want to know how the hell because if it is, I just think if it is a little person, obviously the legs aren't going to look the same as a normal size person's legs. I don't understand how they did this because it's just a wild scene that I always wondered when I saw that. I'm like, how did they do this effect? Because it just seems like someone literally who is just a torso. You know what I mean? It really looks just like someone who's just a torso walking around with a dummy.
Yeah. So while all this is happening, Paul ends up having another nightmare dream sequence.
Yes. So Paul is having this weird dream where he's laying in bed and he basically sees this weird figure slowly snake up around his covers, underneath his covers, like a hump or whatever. But it's weird because it's not like it's a person. It's just this like almost like a ball.
Yeah.
And it gets right up to like his crotch area and he pulls up the covers and it's Sam's dad's burnt head. And he opens his mouth and smoke comes out and then he comes out of the foot of the bed.
Yeah.
Another great scene. I mean, this scene's awesome.
So Paul ends up scattering up his bed and waking up. And in the midst of all this, they realize that the police are outside of Miss Parker's house. So Paul and his mom head out and they meet Tom out there. And they find out that both Miss Parker is dead. She had her head blown up. And Sam's dad was found burned in the basement.
Yeah. And then this literally, once again, scares the shit out of Tom.
And passes out, yeah.
And passes out again.
And then, like, they help him up and he immediately jumps on his bike and just takes off.
Yeah, he takes the fuck off. Sam, basically, so then Paul gets back to his house and locks Sam in the attic. This is the final part where he locks Sam in the attic.
Yeah, until he can figure things out.
Yeah, until he can figure things out what he's going to do with Sam. Sam, what she does always, breaks out of the attic. It's like that dog you put in the backyard that always founds to get out from underneath the fence or something.
Yeah.
But Sam breaks out of the attic and she finds a picture of all of them together with BB.
Yeah,
and
her, Paul, and BB.
Yeah, and then so Paul shows back up and sees that she's broken out, sitting on the bed, and she's crying because she's starting to like she's starting to remember things.
Yeah.
And I think this is that pivotal point where Sam is coming through.
Yeah.
When it's not BB, it's Sam who's taking over.
Yeah, it's almost like they're fighting over if it's going to be Sam or if it's going to be BB.
Yeah, who's
like
controlling the body?
Fight, yeah.
Yeah, who's controlling the body because it's Sam's brain, but also it's BB's brain all together in one body.
Yeah, but it's Sam's body. Yeah,
exactly. So at this time, phone rings. It's Paul's mom's like, hey. Tom's on the phone. I'm busy. Say, no, it says it's important. He answers the phone and Tom's like, I can't do it anymore. All right. And
like people are dying.
People are dying. I can't do this more. I'm going to go to the cops. And Paul's like, don't fucking do that. Like, you can't do that. He goes, what are you talking about? 2 people are dead. Okay. Like, I'm going to the cops, Paul, and I don't care. And he's like, give me till the morning.
Let's talk.
Let's talk. Come over to the house. I'll show you Sam, and you can meet her. And just.
I don't even think he says all that. I think he just says, "Let's talk."
Well, he definitely wants.
That's his intention,
yeah.
But I think he keeps it from Tom in this moment and just convinces him, "Let's just talk. Let's just talk. Let's talk about it."
And he says, "You owe me one because it technically was Tom who got BB killed. That's why I think he owes him one." So he's like, you owe me one. We need to you need to at least give me this one. This is this is the one that you owed me. Give it to me. Don't be hasty or whatever. So Paul has a conversation with Tom when he comes over. And basically he wants to show Tom Sam, and she's in the attic. And now she's not acting robotically. She's running back and forth, and her arms aren't in that robotic stance.
Yeah, she's also hiding.
And she's hiding, because she's almost like she's scared, which previously she hadn't been hiding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when Tom sees Sam, it's almost like that scared critter that shows up in your backyard. Come here, I got a piece of chicken. Just come here.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, that's Paul. Tom's more like ready to run away.
Yeah, I'm saying that's the scenario that we're doing here. But yes, Tom is not. He doesn't want anything to do with it at all. And he starts freaking out. And the closer she gets, she's like, "No, fuck this. You're dead. I'm calling the cops."
Yeah. He goes to run out of the house. They end up getting a fight while they're at the doorstep. And end up fighting, and Paul ends up punching Tom in the face, busting up his nose. Right when his mom walks in.
Mom walks in. She's fucking pissed because, this whole time? Yeah. Paul's not been going to school because he's been spending all this time with working on Sam. He hasn't been going to school where he's getting basically this paid scholarship to learn and teach these kids this computer program that he invented.
Yeah.
So his mom's pissed. She also is pissed. Now your best friend, you just punch your best friend in the face.
Yeah. So they end up going outside because Tom yells that I'm calling the cops, and he does that in front of Paul's mom, and they take off outside in the front yard, and Sam launches herself out of the attic window right on top of Paul. Or not Paul, sorry. Right on top of Tom.
Yeah, and here's the thing. This is the way I took it.
Too many names.
Yeah, this is the way I took here. Okay, this is BB. I thought this is the way I was like, oh, BB is now BB's taking over because BB's like, you got me killed, Tom.
Yeah.
Like you killed me, Tom. You know what I mean? This prank is the reason why I'm dead. And that
see, I saw it as more of like I see it more as BB/Sam are going after people that have either wronged Sam or wronged Paul directly or Paul second-handedly. And since Tom and Paul are fighting and Tom's trying to do something Paul does not want him to do, I felt like that's why Sam/BB were attacking Tom.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that
because that's the BB. The only thing BB had was Paul, and its eyes turned red anytime someone wronged Paul, like in its vision towards whoever it was that wronged Paul. So I feel like that's BB's intention, is to terminate anything that is being harmful to Paul.
I can see that. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Because then also at this point in time, he takes out after they get him off of Tom, he then directly starts to choke Paul, but we see that anger subside and Sam realizes what she's doing and she stops.
Yeah.
And so she takes off and we get Paul running after Sam. There's chasing them all. He's chasing her all around the town.
Yeah, the police get involved. They're hauling butt, hauling Paul's mom around.
Yeah, because that's another thing is what they said is so that was one thing that they brought up when they found Mrs. Parker's was dead. They that neighbor quoted was that by the way, before she died, she called the police, said that she saw Sam alive.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So it's very weird or whatever what's going on in the neighborhood. So now the cops are actually kind of like, okay, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, we end up down an alley and worst time ever. Paul ends up running into Carl again. And Carl's going to take this opportunity to beat up on Paul. However, Slam/BB is not going to let that happen.
Yeah, he's like, you don't got your robot now to fight your battles. He starts beating the shit out of him. And Sam comes out, and this is that great scene where she's like, Sam walks out and just goes, BB. This is like the most like, okay, this is BB. This is BB. And BB basically picks up Carl. And at the same time, a cop car is showing up, and BB throws Carl 30 feet in the air onto the cop car, killing him.
Yeah. And Paul's mom and the cops jump out, and they're yelling for Paul and Sam to stop. And Sam gets scared/BB and takes off again. And Paul takes off after her once again, ultimately leading Paul back to the shed where everything first kind of started.
Yeah, and as we get to this point where he is basically trying to calm her down, and this is that moment. We haven't seen this at all yet. This is the first time we get this. This is the first time where we see we actually know Sam is coming through.
Yeah.
And it's, we actually see her say Paul. We don't get the BB noise anymore.
Yeah.
She's actually using real English, and it's her real voice or whatever. And we get the scene of the vision going back and forth between the BB vision and Sam's vision. And it's kind of that point where, like, unfortunately, these movies always have those sad endings. But it's at that turning point where you're like, you don't want to have the sad ending.
Yeah.
But you're going to get it. But you're like, can we get a happy ending? Can we just get a happy ending?
So they get interrupted, whatever, by the coming into the shed door, and he yells at Paul to, get out of the way and for Sam to stop. However, Sam makes a run for it and is met by all the cops in the driveway. And now there's a standoff.
Yeah, and this is that point where she runs to the cop. And this is when now her hands are
/ Paul, yeah.
Yeah, and her hands go back to the BB hands and runs right into the gun and she gets shot.
Yeah.
It fucking sucks because, unfortunately, this is kind of like, it's that like Pet Cemetery scenario where, okay, so now the body's the reanimated body is dead again.
Yeah.
And they take it to the morgue and then it's in the little refrigerator or whatever. And Paul shows back up and he's like, I got you, Sam. I'm going to fix you. Don't worry. And he's going to sneak her out of the morgue once again, basically. And
learns a lesson.
This scene apparently was completely created by Mark Kenton, the vice president of the company. Like this was his idea to have this ending. And
yeah, because it's a lesson when someone just can't just leave it be.
Yeah, well, that's like the end of Pet Cemeteries, where it's like going to the cemetery does not work in your favor, but you still gonna try it again. And this is the scene. This scene just makes no fucking sense, unfortunately. But yeah, it's BB. Oh, sorry, Sam has mutated into a BB hybrid.
Yeah, human robot now.
Human robot, and the flesh rips off of her face, and she's got this BB face. And the skin starts to tear off of her arms, and it's very grotesque. Not bloody, but it's very grotesque. And you see this weird face, and it's not BB's voice now. Now it's actually Sam's voice, and it's saying, "Sam, come to me, Sam, come to me, Sam." And then you hear him scream, and then you hear and basically BB / Sam breaks Paul's neck, and then we get the end of the movie.
Yeah,
and then we get the great BB.
BB rap, yeah.
BB. Well, it sucks. I will say it sucks because it's clear when you watch the movie that this movie definitely has a sweet romantic story. And they did say with all the scenes that were added that were the gore, they did have to take more of the storyline between Sam and Paul out. Mm-hmm. You can definitely tell that there's some heavy undertones that weren't fully explored due to the re-editing and the scenes added. But clearly everyone knows I love this movie and I like it based off of hearing me talk about it for however long we've been going. Mm-hmm. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I really like it. It's definitely rewatchable. I like the storyline. Like I said, I think, and the New York Times review on the back was pretty accurate. Like it, and I think this is the word I was looking for earlier. It edges on being just a straight up spoof movie.
Yeah, I see how they say that, but I don't think that was their intentions.
Yeah, I don't think it was their intentions, and it's not a bad thing. It's just the gore that's in it is so like I said previously, over the top. And kind of ridiculous, that's where I think they mean it edges on being like a spoof movie.
Yeah, I will say that, and the ending is the most ridiculous thing because that just doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. But yeah, I like it. I would definitely rewatch it. It was a good film. I enjoyed it, especially with it being the first time I've watched it.
Yeah, I think it's a great movie. Like I said, I think this is a great gateway horror. If you haven't seen it and you got like a 10-year-old chilling out that's trying to get into horror, I think this is a good movie to start with. 100%.
Yeah.
I think.
And then in regards to it being like, is it Craven's most misunderstood film? I don't really know. I don't know what the people have said about it, so I'm not really sure. But I can see where, at least in the synopsis on the back or like the breakdown, where they way oversold how frightening it is.
Yes.
So I think if people went into it based off like what they said on the back of it, then yeah, I could definitely understand being let down because it was not scary. You know what I mean? It was not. It was nothing like some of the other films Wes Craven has directed. Like I have seen The Hills Have Eyes. And like this was nowhere near that. It was, this wasn't bad, but I could see where if people had a certain idea in their mind where they could be let down by this film.
I can also see where could be one of those movies where people are gonna be like, oh, it ain't nothing like any of his other films. You shouldn't check it out. And maybe someone might listen to that and not see it versus actually trying it out and be like, hey, this movie's actually not bad. Just because it's not like all that other stuff doesn't mean it's not a good movie.
Different.
It's different. Yeah, it's just different. Wes wanted, like I said, the original storyline was supposed to be a romantic movie, and Wes wanted to show people that I can do other stuff than horror. And it happens a lot with horror directors. And, same thing with now we've seen a lot with comedy directors where comedy directors are going to horror. Like the guy from The Whitest Kids went into doing Barbarians. Like, oh yeah, I've been doing fucking funny ass shit for years, but I can also direct horror.
Yeah.
Jordan Peele with Key and Peele and Mad TV. Yeah, no, I'm really fucking funny, but I can also make you fucking terrified.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But yeah, so I mean, I liked it. I can definitely see where it might be misunderstood in some ways, just from, just in general. Yeah. Any last words?
No, I think it's a great movie. I strongly think that if you haven't seen it, you should check it out. It's, like, once again, it's not like his other stuff that he's done up to that point. But I definitely think it's just a fun movie. I mean, the head exploding scene is worth the price of admission, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. So that is it for today's episode, episode 54, Deadly Friend, directed by Wes Craven, and we appreciate you guys hanging out with us.
Yeah, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment for us to let us know what you think about this episode. Were you digging it? Was it your cup of tea or not? We love hearing from you guys, so definitely help us out and leave us some comments because that definitely helps with algorithm, but also lets us know what you guys want, what y'all like seeing.
Yeah, and if you're looking for those socials or places where you can watch, listen, or follow us along, you can check out videovillaentertainment.com. Everything will be there for your listening and watching pleasure, as well as, extra things that we're up to as time goes on, and upcoming episodes will be there as well.
And we'll be back with more movie reviews, so until next time.
I'm Becca Hedrick.
I'm Logan Hedrick.
And thank you for renting from the Villa.